Hi, today I want to talk a little bit about EZ water, otherwise known as an exclusionary zone, crystalline water, or the fourth phase of water. We all know that water is H2O, or comes in three phases: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. However, the fourth phase of water is a relatively new discovery. There were postulations about it, but it wasn't until about 2011 that Gerald Pollack discovered it out in Oregon University. And what happens is when water touches a hydrophilic surface, now that would include everything you see around me, every living cell of every living organism. Anytime water touches a hydrophilic surface, or a surface that water expands and soaks into, as opposed to like Teflon or oil where water beads up on it, which would be hydrophobic, it starts to change. Now, not all hydrophilic surfaces make that change, but for the most part, most do. And especially all living organisms. Now, the one thing I'm going to talk a little bit about that very few other people talking about fourth phase water talk about, and I'm actually wrote a paper I'm putting into Dr. Pollack right now, is that it's this fourth phase of water and what happened when the life carriers, according to the Urantia Book, brought the life plasm to the planet some 550 million years ago. That is what installed the potential for life. The life plasm itself didn't have life. It wasn't life. However, that plasm combined with the gift of the Mother Spirit started the life process. And from that point on, every cellular activity, I believe, was recorded in what we call the Akashic Records, or the Book of Life. That when a cell divides, the Mother Spirit knows. It's recorded in the waters of the planet. And there are a couple things in the Urantia Book that got me thinking about that. One, it talks about how a frog, had it not jumped a certain distance, would have changed the course of evolution. How they knew that this frog survived, or was that, I believe was recorded in the Book of Life. Also, when Jesus said, "Don't you know the very hairs in your head are numbered?" that was also something that the angels don't bother counting it, but if every nanometer of growth in your body, in your hair, was recorded in the Book of Life, then it's accessible. They could do it. The Urantia Book tells that the angels actually gather our records upon our death to take with us with the evolving Urantia soul. But that's a whole nother story. So what happens when water touches a hydrophilic surface? It actually changes. It expels all positive protons, it expels all impurities, and it becomes a pure substance. But not only is it a pure substance, it has order, it has structure, it becomes slightly more viscous, and it is crystalline in layers. So it's literally a liquid crystal. And when you look at what we have done with crystals in the past 150 years, 200 years, it's totally amazing. We wouldn't have AI if it wasn't for crystals. We wouldn't have computers. We wouldn't have radio, cell phones, and all sorts of stuff. So these liquid crystals are really what support life. And the unique thing is, if my hydroview is correct, and I believe it is that this water of life, this fourth phase crystalline water, is literally not only recording, but it's receiving. It's transmitting and the receiving all of the necessary components for life itself. And with that, it's recording our energetic fields, and it's giving us the ability. Masaru Emoto's work clearly showed, and while science has disputed some of his work because it wasn't totally repeatable, other scientists now are doing some great work. Beta Austin and others are doing just awesome work on showing that how we act with our water changes our water. So I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of it today, but I encourage you to shake your water, charge your water, spend a moment praying with your water. As you pray with your water, you change your water. You change your consciousness itself. What 3 things that physics can't totally explain. 1 is consciousness, 2 is water, and the 3rd is knowing that we can change our water means we can change our life. We can change our attitudes. We can grow. We can love. So I invite you to spend time with your water. What's the worst you got to lose? A few minutes in prayer? God bless.